Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 2. We're so excited to get started here in under 3 minutes now. So give us a share, tag your quilting besties, and we're going to get started here very soon. Hello, welcome in. How's everyone doing? I wanted to start today with a disclaimer from Carolyn Shields in the comments who says Hoop Sisters is addictive. It is true.
Yep. There's a warning. Put a warning label on everything.
There's your warning. And hi, Brenda. How are you? Everyone, we're so glad you're back for day 2 of the Ohio Star Workshop. I got to turn my music off. We're just dancing here in the background, but there we go. Okay, we got that. So we see people from all over the place: Idaho, Texas, New Jersey,
South Dakota, Florida, everywhere.
We've
That's
seen
awesome.
people with wildfires in the
Yeah,
comments. We've
yeah.
seen people with droughts, thankful for rain. So I'm telling you, it's cool. We're all over the place with the whole. And someone said hi, Nina. Nina's in the comments. So we are so glad to be here for day 2. Yesterday, what did you do yesterday, Annie?
Yesterday we made one of these. When I say blocks, my head goes square, but these blocks are triangular. So we made one of these. This one is done 12 times, so there's 4 in the center and a few on the surrounding. So we made one of those blocks yesterday.
Yes, ma'am.
And today we're going to learn what to do with them now.
Yeah, so then you have all these triangles or blocks because it
Yes.
comes with 2 versions.
Right.
And then what do you do with them? How do you put it together? And that tends to be most people's question when they're just getting started. So we're going to cover that today, which is very exciting. We're also going to do a recap. So if you weren't here yesterday, we're going to quickly go through everything that you missed in terms of getting the best deal, the sizing, just all the details that you might want to know. But I also, before we get into the good parts and we get Annie showing you our amazing trimmer by George, I also did want to make sure that we flash these shops up on our screen again, just so that you know if one of these shops is in your neck of the woods, they have this in stock. We highly encourage you to go to the shop, get your design, your fabric, all your tools, your bonuses, your free gifts, all the good stuff, okay? And then if you are not someone who has a shop on this list near you, I'll have Nina drop the order link into the comments now. Barbara says, Nina rocks, helped me with a problem yesterday. A quick response to my email, very appreciated. So that's fantastic. We are very proud of our customer service here at Hoop Sisters, and we have a real life person who answers you. So that's always nice. I always like that. Okay, what else do we, so let's talk about this real quick too, as people are jumping in. Do you want to discuss, this is the first version. We kind of have 2 versions.
There's like 2 versions of Ohio Star that are in this design. So you have the one behind us that I was explaining, the blocks are triangular, and they're triangular because when you put those 4 triangles together, you get a giant block. And it just gets bigger and bigger. And that's why that's the barn quilt version of it with the triangular blocks. And then we have the one that's smaller that you can repeat, square blocks. And we give you the sizes and fabric requirements needed to make on up to a king size. So you can make it as small or as big as you want. That's why 2 different versions. So first we're going to talk about the Ohio Star barn quilt. And I know that I think somebody had asked, and I did not get around to answering the question, but they wanted to know what hoop size. So we have listed on there, it says minimum hoop size there on the bottom left. So you can see that. Now, when we say minimum hoop size, that's actually the size of the file. So if you have a hoop that's going to be bigger, wider, and wider and longer than the dimensions mentioned there, then you'll know how big you can go. So the small one, for instance, the triangle is 5.5 by 11 inches tall, 5.5 wide, 11 tall, and the large one is 8 3/4 by 17.5 inches long. So and then there's a medium in there as well. So that's the size of the file. So if you have a hoop that's that size or bigger, you should be good and should be able to make that. And then the next column over says approximate finished size. of our barn quilt. For the large one, it's 51 inches square. The medium is 41 inches square, and the small one is 33 inches square. So that's what information we got about the barn quilt. Did I miss anything on there already? Oh, there's two different finishing options. The one behind us, we finished with a facing, like the word just didn't come. We finished with a facing, and the blue one that you see pictured there in the slide, we finished with just a binding. So there's a couple different ways to finish it, 3 different sizes for your barn quilt. I think this would be fabulous on over like the headboard of a bed, with the other version that comes with us, the square blocks. As your quilt on there. That would be such a beautiful bedroom.
I agree. I think that would be amazing. So we do have a couple pictures we want to share with you, because the quilt in our studio here, way back there, is this quilt.
Yes.
It just doesn't do it justice here, holding it up to the camera.
Just looks flat. You really can't see the quilting on here, but this picture shows it.
The wood grain quilting, we've used that kind of like a wood grain look in a couple of our designs. And obviously it fits so nicely with this being a barn quilt. And then of course that beautiful heart quilting. And then is that feather quilting? Would you call that around the heart?
Yeah, I call it feather quilting and a heart.
Yeah, it's so pretty. So there's another look at it, and the light's hitting it just right there. So it is absolutely gorgeous. But we also have another version of it.
We do. The other version we have, as I mentioned, this is the one that comes with square blocks. So each of those blocks you see there is a square. So for instance, you see the corners where with the lighter fabric, it's actually a square. Should we hold this up? Let's do that.
Let's do that.
Okay, so this version is a square block. So this is a block. This is the 5-inch size, and then this is another block. So basically, in this one, I have to count real quick. There's 1, 2, if I'm not mistaken, 1, 2, 3 different files in this one. But this is the 5-inch size, and instead of a 4 triangles that are sewn together to make a block, it's just a square.
This one also has smaller sizing, so you can do a 5-inch. Is that the 5-inch I'm imagining?
This is the 5.
So there's the 5-inch.
You're holding the 7.
And then there's also, it comes with the 5-inch size, the 7-inch size, and the 10-inch size, all multi-formatted. And we really haven't said the best part. We're talking about all the beautiful quilting, but guys, it's included. So when you do Hoop Sisters, you don't have to buy a separate quilting file. It's all in there. And you don't have to worry about, do I need to take it to a long armor or anything like that? It's just done when it comes out.
I remember back in the day, I would make quilts and it would say quilt as desired.
Yeah.
So you don't have to quilt as desired, or you don't have to figure out how to quilt it. You just have to quilt it with the quilting files that are included in each of those. For instance, this block here, one of the latter steps is that you just do the quilting step, which makes it great.
It does make it great. And so here's just another image of that gorgeous, gorgeous quilting that we just told you comes with it. So you get all the formats, all the sizing, both versions, whether it's the triangle barn quilt style or the grid kind of block layout.
And the grid one, the one with the square blocks that come in 5, 7, and 10-inch blocks, just so you know, you also get the fabric requirements are listed in there so that you can make anywhere from a wall hanging on up to a king size quilt.
Right, which is fantastic because we also are including, you put a lot of layout ideas in here.
I put a lot of math in there.
Yeah, good, because I'm glad you did that. That doesn't sound fun, but she did it for you. So that's the important part. So just know that all of these different bonus ideas are in there so you can really make this your own, and we can't wait to see, the different colors you guys choose for your fabrics, but also just the different, how many blocks you add to it,
right.
So, okay. So at this point, what do you think about showing them the trimmer?
Yes,
the Franken
absolutely.
bat, and all
Before
the good
we
stuff.
go over here, let's just talk about the trimmer for a second. So this, get the lights to not glare on it. This is our Trimmer by George 3.0. This is our third version of it, and they just get better every single time. So this is an acrylic ruler, and it has all the usual ruler markings on it. It also has a marking, it's actually wording's backwards, it's for the sashing right here, and a marking for binding as well. But the great thing that's different about this ruler versus any other is the trimmer part. Basically, this is a metal edge. Oh, there we go. How's that? I don't know which way to turn it.
Here,
so it has a metal edge
talk.
on it, and that metal edge is designed to protect the fabric on the front of your block. So I'm going to show you how to use that metal edge and how to trim it. So let's get started on that. Is that what you want to do now?
Yes,
Okie
let's
dokie.
do it. This
Let's
is
do
what
it.
you guys want to know, right? This is what you're here for. Let me put your camera up.
Okay, so you have got your pile of blocks. They were easy to do. It's basically just the battleizer, your background fabric, and then change the thread a couple times. It's so easy what we did yesterday. This is super beginner, super beginner. But then you have this pile of blocks. You got to figure out what to do with it. So what you want to do, what your goal is to remove all the bulk before you trim it all together. So you can see where we have our fabric on the front, but you can see the battleizer is removed right up to the basting stitch. And that's going to reduce the bulk in your seams and make it much easier, and the quilt will lay nicer once it's sewn together. So let me show you how to trim that. This is what it looks like when it comes out of the hoop. And also, just a quick FYI, I don't want to forget that yesterday we promised to talk about Frankenbat. Can you see that on the screen? That there is a little zigzaggy seam right there in the battleizer. And we're going to talk about how you can save on your battleizer by Frankenbatting them together. So here's our Trimmer by George and our block. And basically our goal is to remove all this battleizer right up to that basting stitch, right up to there. So we could, if you're back before the Trimmer by George was around, you would have to line the edge of your ruler up exactly perfect, and then take your rotary cutter and trim it away and hope you didn't nick into that fabric. But probably 9 times out of 10 you would. And that is so frustrating. But this metal edge on the Trimmer by George, you just pull your fabric back and just squeegee it in there. And I like to just take a gentle tug to get it as close to that basting stitch as possible. Don't tug too much though, because it could pop out. The fabric could pop out. And I always give just a visual to make sure no fabric is peeking out. And this is a 60 millimeter rotary cutter. And you're going to need a 60 millimeter rotary cutter because that metal edge raises that ruler up a little bit. And the 60 gives you more distance. If you tried to do this with a 45, you would end up, because this would be hitting the top of your ruler, you'd end up to compensate and putting it on an angle. And that would kind of defeat the purpose of that metal edge because you'd probably cut into the fabric anyway. So we have our fabric pulled back and the metal edge is right up to the basting stitch. So now we're going to take our 60 millimeter rotary cutter and we're just going to use that metal edge to trim against. I'm about to run into the ironing cord, so I'm just going to do it this way. I don't want to cut into an electrical cord. So there's some of it is done. You can see how that's almost right up to that basting stitch. And we're going to do that on this side as well. So there's our metal edge. We're going to just shimmy it in there, lay it down, and just give a gentle tug. And then you can use your 60 millimeter rotary cutter to trim that away. Well, now the ironing cord's gone, but I almost cut the block next to it. I'm dangerous.
We've got you crammed into a little screen.
So now we got 2 sides to go. So now you need to look at your quilt and placement of your quilt. And it'll tell you in the instructions. If your quilt or your block is going to be joined to another block, this is how you're going to cut it. You're going to cut the bulk away. But if this side of your block is going to have binding on it, you're going to cut 1/4 inch through all layers. So to do that, you would just, instead of using the metal edge, you turn it over and use the acrylic ruler side and just trim that 1/4 inch from the basting stitch. And I'm just going to snuggle this last one in here, give it a gentle tug, because this one I know is going to be right in the center of my quilt, and all 3 sides are going to be joined with the Trimmer by George. So there it is. Now what you need to do is trim the fabric on the front 1/4 inch from the basting stitch. So sometimes it's a little more difficult to see where the basting stitch is on the front, so just flip it over, and that's easier to see. So now I've got the ruler side of my Trimmer by George, and I am just going to line up that basting stitch with the 1/4 inch mark on the Trimmer by George ruler. And I'm going to do that at all 3 sides. I always say 4 sides, but this is only 3 sides. And I'm going to cut that 1/4 inch. And I'm going to do the same thing right here. Okay, so there you have it. That is how you would trim this. And the next step would be is you are going to have all your blocks. This one I already have sewn together, but this is the center of our Ohio Star. So now what you need to do is this one I already sewn these 2 together, but I want to show you how to pin. So I'm going to put these right sides together, grab my pins, and I am going to put a pin right through the center. You can see the basting stitch where that corner stitch is. Hopefully they can see that okay. And then I'm gonna pin it right into the next block in the corner of where that basting stitch is. So I got the 2 corners of the basting stitch. I'm gonna call this my anchor pin because this is just gonna stay here to hold that in place for just a moment. And now I'm gonna go over here to this corner. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm going to put a pin right through the corner where that basting stitch is. You can always look at the front of it to make sure it lined up where you need it. And then on the other side, and these both are both anchor pins. So now that I have my 2 anchor pins in there, now I'm going to take my permanent pin and I'm going to put that in there. We do this anchor pin technique because we don't want those 2 blocks shifting like that. We want the basting stitches on both blocks to line up perfectly. So now I'm going to take my pin that'll be a permanent pin. I'm going to put it through the seam allowance part, not through the battleizer. Put it through the seam allowance part, and now I can put it back through the block. But that anchor pin holds that in place and keeps it from shifting. You will thank me later. Then I'm going to do the same thing here. Here's my anchor pin. This pin goes through the seam allowance, and then you can put it back through the block. And since this is a little bit of a distance, I might put 1 or 2 more in. So when you're not on a corner, you need to sometimes look at some of your blocks may have match points in them. And so you need to figure out where those match points are, and that's where you're going to drop an anchor pin. So I'm just going to use the basting stitch. Might be hard for you to see it, but I can see the basting stitch. I'm going to put my anchor pin right through that basting stitch, and I'm going to check the other block. It is off of just a hair, half a stitch. So now I have that lined up, the 2 pins right on the basting stitch so that they will be sewn together perfectly. So then I'll take my other pin, put it through the seam allowance, and then back through the block, and then I can remove my anchor pin. I would probably do it here as well. And it's up to you how much or how little pinning you want to do. But if you do have a match point, just make sure that you are matching the match points. That through the seam allowance and then the block. So that's how you pin it. And then what you need to do is you need to go, when you go to your machine, just use your straight stitch, just a default straight stitch length. And you're going to stitch right on top of that basting stitch. So I'm going to bring this one up since it's already sewn. And I used pink thread so you can see where the pink thread, I sewed that seam right on top that basting stitch. And then there's the other side of it. So there it is. And then when you open it up, you have perfection. And I will tell you that the reason we use water-soluble thread is because sometimes They don't always turn out perfect, and you might see that basting stitch from the front, in which case you just get it wet and your water-soluble thread will disappear. So then once you get these two blocks sewn together and these two, I just have them pinned right now, sewn together, then you can put these two together, and then you'll sew along this seam, and then you'll have your square. Here's a square of the section that goes next to it. One of the things you might want to watch while you're putting this together is the direction of your wood grain.
Good tip.
If you want it to go different ways and you don't care if it's going this way on one section and this way on another, but just keep in mind we designed the files, and there's 4 different wood grain files, so if they all go in a vertical line. So that is that. The other thing I wanted to show everybody too, let's jump over here to pressing. Let me just slide this over. Okay, so if you're going to be pressing your block, we like to press the seams to one side. Let me show this one. So this one here, we have this one pressed this way, this section going that way, and that way you can help line up that corner so that it lines up perfectly. And then this final seam you would just also press in one direction, so you have a nice match right there. And Tammy did that for me. She did a wonderful job. But on pressing, I will tell you this particular quilt that we've started does not have the wool in it. Wool is an optional step, but I'm going to press this as though we do, because when you press wool, like we tell you to prepare the wool on the edges, you are going, what that does is flatten the edges so your presser foot doesn't get caught. But since it flattens the edges, but if you just took your iron and pressed it and you had wool in there, you would end up just wherever the iron hit, it's going to be nice and flat. So this is what we were talking about yesterday. One of the wonderful things, that a little sewing tool that you probably need to have if you're using wool or a polyester lofty, any kind of batting like that, is what this does is it's flat on one side, so it lays flat, but then it's rounded. And that rounded area, when you put your seam right over the top of it, and this is called the strip stick, what it does is when you're pressing, you just take the tip of your iron and touch that seam without touching anything else, then you won't flatten your wool. And then I always like to flip it over to the other side and give it another press. But this is a strip stick, so also a wonderful tool to have. And so that, did I miss anything? Do I explain Frankenbat? Let's just talk about Frankenbat for just a minute. I will show you the back of this. There's also a little Frankenbat section in there. And one of the things that you can do to save on your battleizer, I'm trying to find the one I wanted to show you. Okay, so here is one that's been Frankenbattered right here. So you can see they are slightly different colors, which is great because you could probably see it. One's a little more white than the other side, but you just butt those edges up together, and then you just use a zigzag stitch to stitch them together. And that way you have, instead of throwing these scraps in the trash, you could use this again for another block. And since when we cut off the triangle shaped blocks, you get weird shapes like this. But you can still use those, maybe Frankenbatted on a corner. You can do it more than once, but that's just a great way to be able to save on battleizer. So I think that's all I have for him, Aubrey.
Okay, so I do see a question here from Janine that I'm going to pop up here that I know you'll know the answer to.
If you put wool in your quilt, well, washing and drying cause the wool to go flat. It will not cause the wool to go flat, but for drying, I would recommend washing in cold water. And then when you put it in the dryer, just make sure it's on a cool air. And some people like to fluff it in the dryer for a little bit on cool, and then take it out and put it right on a bed and lay it flat to dry. I take it right from the washing machine and lay it on a bed, turn on the ceiling fan,
and walk away. And by the end, I walk halfway through the day, I walk in, I flip it over. And by the time you're making dinner, then your quilt is perfectly dry. So,
And not flat.
and not flat. It does not flatten it. The heat and the pressure from the iron will definitely flatten it. But I would not recommend washing in hot or a high heat in the dryer. Just keep it low.
Yes. Okay. Maureen, watch the replay because we just covered it. I know she said I just came in. That's what I wanted to know. Okay.
And we do have a video somewhere showing Frank and Bat. So
Yeah,
I don't know where,
I
but
think Nina posted a link
I
to
think
it
she
yesterday
did. I think she
too. But you can watch after the live, just rewind us. But anyway, the other thing that
backing.
you made, but
Yeah.
also this runner. So let's talk about the runner. I know the instructions to make this are not in there, but my goodness, look what she did with it.
You could just keep going and keep going. I don't know how long some of your tables are, but you could just keep making that block right there and just keep going, which is very cool. And then that's just one little triangle on the end of it. And what I did for the backing is it was just one piece backing. So you just lay your backing down with your right side on your cutting mat or your floor or wherever you're doing it. And then you lay your quilt on top of it, safety pin it all together. And then what we did was we just used that serpentine stitch that meanders back and forth. But we'd stitch it from the front and you'd stitch right in the ditch. And that helps these lay really nice and flat. Or you could just use a straight stitch if you want to. And then you would just do a basting stitch around the perimeter, trim your backing fabric up so it's even with the front of your quilt, and then you can put your binding on it. Or a small project like this, it's also easy just to do a lining.
So I did see a question. Battleizer is not wool. Battleizer and wool are two different things. The Battleizer is batting and stabilizer.
Yes.
All in one product. It looks like this. This is the 5-yard size. We also have a roll that's 15 yards that's taller and skinnier. But this is not wool. It doesn't contain wool. The wool is in addition to if you want that loft and dimensions and that kind of a thing.
And you don't have to use it. It's something that's optional.
Yeah, you don't have to. In fact, if you're going to do a runner or something, you probably don't want to.
That's right.
But no, the answer is no, it is not wool. It's batting and stabilizer all in one product. So it's pretty cool. So let's talk about the runner just a little bit. Let's move this. There we go. Okay. So let's talk about the runner just a little bit more because I know everybody loved the runner. You want to talk about sizing. Again, the instructions are included, but look what you can do.
Right. We didn't give you the instructions because basically it's that center block or the blue block that you see in the blue and white quilt. It's basically that file that you just do repeatedly. So you would have to do it by 4 sections. So it'd have to be divisible by 4. So, and plus the 2 that are on the end. So based on the number, how many blocks do I have? How many triangle blocks do I have? Let me count them. We're going to do some quick math. 1, 2, 3, 12, 13. There's actually 14 of that file in there. So I just made 14 of them. And the large size is 17.5 by 16.5 inches long. I almost said feet long. That'd be pretty long. Medium size is 13.8 by 55. And the small is 11 inches by 44.
So it's really beautiful. And I think it'd be even beautiful if you used maybe like a contrasting thread too. The quilting would stand out even more.
And Connie, yes, absolutely. You can do the table runner with the smaller. I'm thinking that you mean the square blocks. And absolutely, you could do the same thing with that as well. And Sheila says, how do I estimate how much wash away thread I'll need? Well, for this project, I would probably just get a smaller spool. But if you plan on continuing to do more Hoop Sisters where you're going to need a wash away thread, it also comes in a larger spool. I would just suggest that you store it in the plastic bag that it comes in. Age and humidity will definitely cause it to deteriorate. So I'd start with a smaller spool if this is your first project and you just want to try it out.
I mean, age and humidity is causing me to deteriorate.
I know.
Maybe somebody should put me in a plastic bag.
But Sheila, like someone said earlier, that the warning that you had on it's addictive.
Yes.
So if you think you're easily addicted to stuff, then
get the big one. Get the big one and store it properly. That will be great. Okay, so we're gonna kind of recap now and head into talking more about how to get the best deal. And so at this time, I'll have Nina, our wonderful girl in the comments, drop the ordering link. And right now, always during our workshops are really always the best time to get the best deal. But the design's going to be available. But if you like saving 10% and getting an extra project, then before midnight tonight is really the time to order.
So Frank and Bat, do it by before midnight.
Yeah. But that's just if you want to make more projects that don't cost you more.
That's right.
And the bonus project for the Ohio Star is the saucer. And in fact, Annie, why don't you hold that up? Because I don't know about you guys, but I just like seeing things in someone's hand. Gives me a good idea of size.
Isn't that cute?
It's really cute.
I mean, it's just adorable. And the fun thing too, like at night, I take my earrings and I just take all my jewelry off. This would be a perfect thing to put in there. It's reversible, so I'm gonna like coax it into going saucer the other way.
And then she's got her little bobbins in there.
Keep your bob. What else would you put in there? What would you put in your saucer?
I would put my wedding ring, my earrings at night, like by my bedside. I would do that.
It's cute and it's reversible, so it's a lot of fun. Just a fun project. Great, quick gift.
Joan said that she keeps 2 large spools on hand at all times, but she doesn't have humidity. She's also a frequent flyer, so she does our stuff a lot. I don't know if that helps the previous person at all. Okay, great question, Sigrid. I do want to have Annie answer this, especially if there's other people here who are new. Drop a 1 in the comments so we know.
If you use wash away thread and you join the blocks, don't they come apart? Yes, they do. That's okay.
We don't join the blocks with the water soluble.
Each of the steps we tell you what thread to use. So if you're doing the wash away thread comes while you're doing the design in the beginning. It comes to show a pattern, to mark a placement stitch, to show where to put your fabric. Mm-hmm. So that's why there's wash away there. When we put the basting stitch around the outside of your block, that is also going to be wash away thread. And that's so when you join the blocks together and you open it up, that you don't have the basting stitch thread showing and you can just get it wet and have it go away. But if we ever have you do a seam or a satin stitches or anything like that, we tell you to change to a neutral color thread, or, it depends on the quilt and the block, but we tell you when to use it and when not to use it. So hopefully that's helpful. But I've come close a couple times to not changing my thread, and then I realized I did change my thread. So once you get in a rhythm of it, it's not a problem at all.
So just watch the instructions. You're never going to use it in the actual joining of the blocks.
Yep. And actually on our instructions, what we do is we underline what fabric you're going to use. We also underline what thread you're going to use for every step. So train your eyes to look for the words that are underlined, and that will help you out a lot.
Yes. Okay. And then I also saw something else. Where did it go? So Elizabeth said, so this project requires a bigger hoop than a 6x10. Is this going to be a new trend, as in time to upgrade my machine? So a couple things. To make this version, yes, you will need a bigger hoop. We do, though, have the grid style that has as small as a 5-inch. It has a 7-inch, and then it does go up to a 10-inch as well.
Did she say hers was 6x10?
I think she said 6x10. Yeah.
Yeah, because the smallest on here is 5.5 by 11.
Yeah.
But on the square blocks, that you can do, and those come in 5, 7, and also 10-inch blocks.
So did you put instructions in there to make this bigger? Like
yes, that was
like math.
Yes.
Like fabric requirements.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Okay.
That's
if you're like a 5-inch size, say, or well, you can't do 7 because you'd be in the 5 with the 6x10. So you could make this version in the 5-inch size, and then we have fabric requirements in there.
So there's your fabric requirements for the 5-inch size. So this will enable you, and these lines here, it's wall hanging, baby quilt, twin, full and queen, and king size. So all the fabric requirements are on there. And then this will give you an idea. Whoops, sorry, can't hold on to anything. To repeat it, just kind of a visual of the layout.
Yes.
If you were to repeat those.
So that's all in the instructions when you order, okay? I have seen a couple specific questions about downloading or getting certain things, and I'm about to head into how to get the best deal. There's always questions when this comes up, and that's totally normal and fine. So I did pop Nina's contact information up there. That just helps because then you can talk to her specifically about what's going on with you and what you have. It's hard for us to answer those in the live comments, but we're heading to talk about how to get the best deal on this. And I will tell you, there's no coupons, codes, or anything like that. All of this is going to happen automatically.
Pat says we're blurry. I think it's because I'm getting older and we put a filter on there. No, I'm just kidding. Probably should.
I actually do have a little filter on here.
Oh, do you?
It came with it.
No, more than likely it's an internet thing.
The instructions do not come printed out. You're going to get a USB stick that has those on there as PDFs, and you can print those. Same thing with the download. You can just print those as well. I don't know why we're blurry, y'all. So hopefully are we still blurry?
I think it's because we're moving too fast.
Maybe. I don't know. You guys let me know. I don't know that there's anything I can do about it right now, but let's get through this part of it. And again, if you have questions, let Nina know. We'll drop the order link so that you guys can begin creating your own bundle. So now's the best time to order. After tonight at midnight, it will no longer have this promotion. It'll just be the $89, okay? I just saw that. Okay, so to create your own bundle, you're gonna go to the link that Nina's dropping in, whether you're YouTube or Facebook, she'll drop the link in there. And then you can go look around. There's 2 pages within the category that you can shop from. So there's a couple other designs in there. There's also the tools that we mentioned during the workshop the past 2 days. And all you need to do is put any 2 items in your cart, and it will automatically take 10% off, and it will automatically add the saucer bonus. You do have to have 2 items from that specific category in your cart in order to get the bonus free, okay? And then just so you're also aware, there are a couple items, there's 3 items that are excluded. So you can put these in your cart, but they're not gonna count towards the 2 items to get 10% off. Those items that are excluded are the strip stick, which Annie talked about today, also the mono poly invisible thread, which we use for joining,
right,
and the Vanish Light water soluble thread that we've also talked about today. The bonus will be available after. We usually don't put it out for the $15 until after the workshop because it does create some confusion where people are adding it to their cart that maybe didn't need to spend the $15 on it. So we'll put it out there probably tomorrow if you just want to buy that separately. So creating your own bundle, which is just adding 2 of whatever item to your cart that's in the category, is going to automatically get you 10% off and get that bonus for you for free. So here's an example. This is the Ohio Star design, whether it's USB or download, either one works. And say you put 5 yards of battleizer in your cart. That's going to kick off the 10% and it's going to get you that bonus free. And that saves you $27.30.
Yeah.
That's not too shabby at all. If you're international, we understand that that shipping is and everything's more expensive, right? So just know that you could put one of the other designs and make them 2 downloads or something like that. And it'll get you the bonus. It'll get you the 10% off. or you can just get the design. So however you want to do it, it is available as a download. This is the same example, except doing it with 15 yards of battleizer, in which case your savings go up to $32.35. She said, I think the camera's trying to focus on the wall. That could be. So maybe the slides aren't too blurry. Okay. All right. So here is our complete set that we introduced you to this week. The gorgeous Ohio Star design, the free registration gift, the bonus, and then what we have the other bonus that's even just included with the design, so you can make either one. So it's really beautiful, and I just love how it all coordinates. I always do.
Yeah,
It's just,
I do too.
It's so nice.
I just realized that you could put besides on the wall over your headboard and on
Yeah.
the bed. How about a coaster on the nightstand and a place to put your jewelry?
Yeah, absolutely. That's perfect. Also, we showed this yesterday, but I wanted to give her another shout out. Mary Jean over at Becky's Sewing Center in Goshen, Indiana, made this shop sample, and it's just beautiful and it's just different. I like that she changed up the color of thread that she used. Obviously, she used completely different color fabric. So it's just really nice to see it in another color.
It is. I
Give you some
love
ideas.
seeing our stuff that people make that's completely different fabric.
Yeah.
It's just so cool.
Yeah, so nice. Okay, what else? Okay, so we also went through I think we talked about every single one of these. The battleizer we highly recommend because it's got the batting you're going to want because you're making a quilt, but it's also got the stabilizer that you want to hold up to the stitching. So highly recommend that with this design. Plus we've got the scissors. We showed you the trimmer today, which is definitely a must-have. And then on the lower level, we have the water-soluble thread, the strip stick, and the monopoly. So these could be something that you add to your cart. Everything on that top row is included in the promotion that will get you 10% off, and it'll get you the saucer bonus. Everything on the bottom are the excluded items, okay? So hopefully that's clear. All right. So just to recap this one more time, now is the time. If you've been hanging out with us for 2 days thinking, oh my gosh, this is so cool, could I do this? You said today, Annie, that this is perfect for a beginner.
This is total beginner because it's basically just hooping your battleizer, wool if you want, adding your fabric, and 2 different color thread changes. So it does the quilting, and then just sew them together and using the pinning and the trimming and pinning process that I showed you today.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, this is available for replay. So if you know somebody you want to send this to, you can send them a link to the replay, or you can come back later and watch it yourself.
Okay, we're about to head into the giveaway, which is always a fun part of the day. So now is kind of your last chance to type the word trimmer in, and we're going to get on here, draw a winner. This is live viewers. So I'm actually going to get my screen share going, and we're going to pick somebody, and we're going to give away $50 in HoopSisters store credit, which is really exciting.
That is
you can
exciting.
Get a lot of good stuff with $50.
That is exciting. I saw a number jump a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, there it goes.
Okay. Wow, that's almost everybody is getting in on
That's
this.
awesome.
All right, let's see who it is. Okay, I don't know how to say your name.
UT or you?
One of those.
Okay, I'm really sorry if we mispronounced your name, but congratulations. That is so exciting. She's watching over on YouTube.
Yes. Okay. So very cool. Welcome, welcome. And we are so glad that you are the winner. So let me tell you, I'm just going to say Ute because I'm not sure how to say your name. What you're going to want to do is email Nina at hoopsisters.com and let her know that you are the Day 2 Ohio Star Workshop winner, and she will pop $50 in your Hoop Sisters account, and you can go shopping. So, and it doesn't expire, so you can use it anytime, which is going to be very nice as well. Okay, so as we wrap up here today, let's just make sure that, again, everybody knows we do have Miss Nina Gladden. She's in the comments now, but she's also always fielding phone calls after this, checking her email, and she is a real life person who answers the phone to help you out. So if you have something specific, like you're not sure how to access something, or you want to make sure you're getting the best deal and all that stuff, you can give her a call and she will help you out. But yeah, that's it, you guys. That's
Yep,
Ohio
that's all.
Star.
Yep, that's it.
And
It's easy.
yeah, we're super excited. We cannot wait to see what you guys create. And we'd love for you to post it in our Facebook group as well, so we can see what you guys do.
That's right.
All right, y'all. Thank you so much. We'll see you.
Thanks
We'll
for
see
joining
you
us.
next month. Oh my gosh.
Oh my, August is coming.
Yep. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.